So don't forget, treat your passwords like underwear. Never share them with anyone. Change them regularly and keep them off your desk. Not good practice. So going the extra mile, you got to understand the difference between domain host, web host, email host, and other hosts. So your most important host, I feel, is your domain host. So GoDaddy's a good one. 1&1, there's 2cows, but the domain is basically where your .com address lies. So elitenetworks.us or elitenetworks.llc.com, that's our domain host. So that's pretty much the keys to the gate. If someone compromises that domain, you lose your email, you lose your website address, your reputation suffers. You have to get a new email address. So all these people with your existing email address aren't going to be able to reach you anymore. They could potentially use that domain to spoof emails as you and cause a whole lot of trouble for you. Your web host is actually where your website is hosted. So like Aunt Deanna's Basket, that's on a web host. Now your domain host and your web host can be the same. Sometimes they are not. Even your email host can be on the same one, like GoDaddy does domain, web, and email hosting. But you got to understand that domain host is not necessarily your web host, is not necessarily your email host. These are three separate functions of your website or your email technologies. This is something very critical for you guys. Verify your domain registration information. You can go to www.whois.net. Whois.net. Type in your domain name, elitenetworks.us, Aunt Deanna's Basket, whatever, and it'll tell you the registration information on that. Make sure that information is correct. If it's private, it may not show it at all. You probably want to investigate that to make sure that is correct. So if you log into your GoDaddy, what they call your domain registrar, make sure you can go in there and set all that information as far as like the contact number, your email address, so on and so forth. Very important if you have a .com or .net domain name. Registered email address should not be domain email address. So this has to do with your domain registration. If your domain is elitenetworks.us and my email address is at elitenetworks.us, I don't want to use that email address as my registration email for the domain, because if I lose that domain, I lose that email address. So you want that to be something else like Google or Yahoo. So that way if your domain does get hacked or the password gets cracked on it, whatever, they're going to send an email to that alternate email address saying, hey, we need to get your account back. Here's what you need to do. If it's your .com address or the same address as you're trying to get back, you may not have access to that anymore because they may have blocked you out of it. So make sure that registration email is not the same as your website domain. Here we go. So like our elitenetworks.us is registered as gmail.com as our contact information because it's obviously a separate email address. And remember your renewal dates. Beware of domain swipers. We've had a few clients throughout the past few years weren't up to date on when their domain was going to renew. It expired, and then some swiper came in and bought it out from underneath them, and they lost their website, they lost their email address, they had to start all over again. It is a process to get it back, and you can't always get it back. A lot of times these people will swipe your email or your domain, and then they'll want $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 for you to get that domain back. They'll sell it back to you. It is a racket.